All right, Charlotte, put your phone away unless you're graphing. All right, so let me know which question that you want me to help you with the homework. 3. Hold on, I need to find your homework first. Okay, 3. 3 says -5 cosine of 4 over 3x. So guys, if you don't know how to do something, raise your hand, ask a question. Robert, where were you? You supposed to take a test yesterday? Yeah.
I just went to lunch.
Huh?
I just went to lunch.
You gotta come in and take a test. I'm gonna give you a 0 if you don't come in.
Okay.
Also, you need to show me homework.
Okay.
So there are. I realized this. There are some people doesn't raise your hand, ask questions. If you don't know how to do something, raise your hand, ask question. For example, there's some people doesn't ask, like Jade. I never hear a word from her, Jade. Right? She doesn't ask question, but she doesn't ask questions. She's not gonna get better. If you want to get better, raise your hand, ask question. Jada, I actually keep on yell at her. Now she says, I need help with number 3. That's fine. Some of you guys don't know how to do something and just leave it alone, let it don't know how to do it. And that's bad. If you don't know how to do something, ask a question. I never hear Katie ask question. I never hear Jada ask question. Now I hear Jada ask question. I see Julia raise her hand now, participate. I see a lot of positive things from a lot of you guys. But there's some of you guys, I just don't know what you sound like. Like Neil, I don't know what his voice sound like. Say hi. Okay, so now I hear his sound like. But you guys got it. I could be very intimidating. I understand that. But I also not gonna say, how come you so stupid you don't understand this? No, I will say great question, you ask a question. If Jada asked me after class, you should see me. I run away. I say, nope, I'm not here, Jada. You should have asked me during class. You can ask me during class anything. I will help you. But if you ask me after class, I'll be like, look at the videos. So if you don't understand something, ask a question. Like I never hear Cohen ask me a question. But I hear him speak though. So that's a good thing. Or Michael. Michael doesn't ask me a question either. So the question like this, cosine of 4 over third x. So I'm gonna take this one. I'm gonna just erase this graph. I'm gonna do copy and I'm gonna paste here. So first of all, I figure out what the amplitude. Amplitude is the absolute value of -5, so it's 5. Period is gonna be 2 pi over 4 over 3. So which is roughly 2 pi times 3 over 4. So that is gonna give you 3 pi over 2. Now quarter period means gonna be 3 pi over 2 divided by 4. So that means divided by 4, that's 3 pi over 4 times 1 over 4. Does that make sense? So that's gonna be 3 pi over 16. Very weird scale, but that's how you increase each scale. So I hear 3 pi over 8. Oh, I can't multiply, you right. This is 2. No, I didn't. I write the wrong thing. 3 pi over 8. So I hear each time I'm going to increase by 3 pi over 8. Now, for me, I don't simplify it at first. I'll simplify it later. So I increase each scale. That's why I just yell at Emerson, says, where's the scale? If you don't have a scale, that's not the right graph. 6 pi over 8. Now, can I simplify to 3 pi over 4? Yes, but you guys are not good at simplifying. Just keep it just double each time. Keep it like increasing the same increment each time. So 9 pi over 8, and then 12 pi over 8, and 15 pi over 8. Same thing on the other side. Negative 3 pi over 8, negative 6 pi over 8. You can simplify later, but this scale is really important. So negative 9 pi over 8 and negative 12 pi over 8. Now, you can choose to simplify this as 4 pi over 3, and this is 3 pi over 4. So negative 3 pi over 4, negative 4 pi over, not 4 pi over 3, 4 pi over, wait, hold on a second, 3 pi over 2. 3 pi over 2. And this one is 3 pi over 2. Okay, so now I can change those graph if I have to. Now let me ask you again. Where is cosine start out from? Start at peak. Here is peak or no? Where is start? Negative 5, good. So I'm going to start at negative 5 here, and I'm going to start right here. If we start at a trout, the next thing you're going to go is the midpoint, which is the midline over there. And then you're going to start to the peak. And that's it. Robert, what's your homework? So Bennett, make sure you have homework done. Yes.
Do we always like go 1 period or 2 periods? And this is 4 and then
Okay. Oh, that's right, but you should double check your answers so you're right. You should show 2 periods on the test. At this case, there is actually, yeah, there's 2 periods here. Yes.
What about like, how do you know if it goes from 3 pi to 9 pi instead of like 3 pi to 6 pi?
It's 3 pi to 6 pi because each quarter period increase is 3 pi over 8. So 3 pi over 8 plus 3 pi over 8 is 6 pi over 8.
I meant like where the graph intersects.
What?
Like where the graph touches like 3 pi over 8 and 9 pi over 8.
Uh-huh.
Like it skips 6 pi over 8.
Because you had to go to the peak. You had a midline. So you have a crust and trout on your wave, right? So you start at a trout. Now the next level is going to go to the midline. And after that, you had to go to the peak. You cannot ignore the peak. See, that is a great question. Ian, stand up or pay attention. And if you didn't graph it, you gotta graph it. Use your pencil, use your iPad, use your things to draw it out if you don't understand. Now is the time to understand. Questions? Yes. 5. Let's go to the 5. I don't mind people ask question. I want you ask me question. I will not answer your question after school. I promise you I won't answer you. Ask Jada. Jada chase after me. I say, I'm not here. I'm not here. Ask Lena. And Lena is supposed to help because after school, if you help, you get better understanding. Okay, number 5. If you want to ask, this one is going to be a squared plus b squared equal to c squared. A squared is, I'm going to say that's 12 squared plus b squared equal to 14 squared. So that means b squared is equal to 196 minus 144. I have no idea what is that. 52, which is 2 square root of something, 13? Is that right? Plus minus. So 2 root 13. Cosine of 90 minus theta. Why do I choose 90 minus theta? Because that's what? Cofunction identity. What's cosine of 90 minus theta? Sine theta. So the same thing as asking sine theta. Sine theta is 2 square root 13 over 14. Tangent is 2 square root 13 over 12. Cotangent is 12 over 2 square root 13. What is tangent of 90 minus theta? Cotangent. So that's same thing as the other one. So there we go. Answer is all answered. The last one here, I'm going to answer this one because this one's on your last test. A lot of people screw up. The best thing is draw out which quadrant is it. If you draw out which quadrant, you're winning. So secant is positive, first quadrant because they are x. And the tangent is negative, so they have to be this one. So this one has to be like this. 6 theta 5 is positive. So I think this one is square root 11. I'm not sure. So sine theta is equal to negative square root 11 over 6. Tangent theta is equal to negative square root 11 over 5. And that's how you get the right answer. That's how you get a right answer on the test. If you don't understand, write down what you're misunderstanding. Yes.
Could you go over the tangent of 90 minus theta again?
Yeah, this yesterday, were you here? Okay, so we write down the cofunction identity for tangent. Tangent, so it should be right up here, right before I started. Yeah, let me look up cofunction identity. So cofunction identity. If you just look it up, cofunction identity is right here. So cotangent of 90 minus theta is tangent of theta. Does that make sense? So you gotta use that. You cannot use calculator. The goal is not using calculator. The goal is using non-calculator to figure out everything. Later on, we're gonna give you an opportunity to use calculator again. Mirana, you gotta get a calculator. Is that okay? Now we're gonna graph a harder version. So today we're gonna graph sine and cosine, and we're gonna shift all different ways. So pay attention. So for me, like I'm gonna try to focus on this. Y equal to a sine of b x plus minus c plus d. So we're gonna write down, this is the important part, a. B, C, and D. Now, obviously, you're going to get the same thing, copy, and a paste. I hear, but it's going to be cosine. So this one is going to be cosine. So same format. Now, what's the most important thing is we already know what is A. A is no big deal. A is just amplitude. Everybody can take care of the A. Right? Everybody can take care of A. But the problem is the B. B is so crucial. This first step, you have to make sure it's factored out of B. You have to make sure this B is factored out. I'm going to write it down here so that way you know. But everything the first time is you're gonna factor out a b. Make sure factor out the b. If b is inside, then you gotta factor out. Factor out b. And this, factor out b. Because it affects every single part of the question if you don't factor out b. That is our first test. Now, what else do you need to know? D is very important. D is the midline, which is called vertical shift. So vertical shift, of course, the sine function, it goes up and down. So this is the midline, as known as a vertical shift. So also a vertical shift. And this is vertical shift. Am I going too fast? Okay, what do you think C is? Left and right, right? C is horizontal. So this is a horizontal shift. And C is a horizontal shift. Now we got everything. We got A is the amplitude, so we can write down A is amplitude. A is amplitude. So you got those A, you got B, you got C, you got D. Now, first thing, I'm gonna say it so many times. Make sure factor out a B if B is inside a parenthesis. So I'm gonna say that for now. So I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna give you a function y equal to 2 sine. I'm gonna do -2 sine. And I'm gonna say, I don't know, 2x minus pi over 4 minus 1, something like that. We're gonna graph this function. What's my first goal? Factor out b, but the problem factoring out b could be somewhat difficult. So every time you factor out something, you divide it by that number. Does that make sense? So for example, I have this y equal to -2 sine, and I'm going to factor out this b, which is 2. If I factor out 2, I divide this by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is what? But what is pi over 4 divided by 2? Pi over 8 minus 1. Okay, I'm just going to give you an example. What if I have sine of 2/3 x minus pi or plus pi over 5? How do I factor out a 2/3? First of all, I write down 2/3 outside, right? And that's going to be x plus what? So you're going to do pi over 5 divided by 2/3. Does that make sense? So pi over 5 times what? 3/2. So it's 3 pi over 10. So it's going to be plus 3 pi over 10. So you have to understand how to factor out that. If you factor out, you divide it by that number. You divide it by inside number by that number. So that's kind of critical part. Now, I'm going to go and figure out all the things. Amplitude is equal to what? 2. It's not -2. It's absolute value. So a period is equal to, well, what is period? It'll be pi. 2 pi over 2, because I was 2 pi over b, right? So I'm going to write down 2 pi over b. This is the formula you need to know. So 2 pi over 2, that's equal to pi. Is that okay? Now, what is the quarter period? It's a pi over 4. Now, what's the midline? Very good, -1. Now, lastly, which only variable I did not deal with? I deal with the -2, I deal with the 2, I deal with the -1. What's the only one I have left? The horizontal shift. Okay, yes, Bennett.
Why is -1?
Because this is right here. This is the afterwards. This is the vertical shift. Thank you, Bennett, for asking that question. Very, very important question. Now, what happened is this, -pi/8. You have to be very cautious of this. -pi/8, you got to make sure, are they going right or left? Is this case going right or left? Right, because it's negative, right? It's opposite. Inside the parentheses, opposite. So this is going to be shift right pi/8. Now, those two, I will have a common denominator. Why is I look at, if I move right pi/8, my scale is gonna change, right? So I'm gonna say that the scale in term of pi/8, what would it be? 2 pi/8. Does that make sense? So that means I'm gonna go to 1, and each time I'm gonna increase by 2. So I don't start at 0, increase by 2. It's very easy to count. Now I'm gonna start at 1. So if I start at pi/8, then I'm gonna increase each one by 2 pi/8. Does that make sense? Because I'm each time a quarter period, that's where the major shift, major change of the graph, either from midline to trout or trout to midline or midline to minimum. Yes, Robert.
So the quarter periods go off of the shift or go off of zeros?
The quarter period is go off of the shift because you have to do horizontal shift first and then increase in each scales.
So you start off at pi/8 and then add 2 pi/8.
Each time or subtract 2 pi/8. So the question is kind of weird. So the graph, everybody's going to be kind of off. Hopefully they don't be kind of off because this is very crucial. So I'm going to start at 0 right here, obviously. But the shift is right pi/8. So I'm going to write down pi/8 here. Why do I start there? Because that's important point to start. Also midline. Midline, as I'm going to go sketch in the midline. This midline is super important because if you know the midline, you know the amplitude. If you don't know the midline, you don't know the amplitude. So far, are we okay? So far, are we okay? Now, each time I'm increased, I'm going to follow the quarter periods. So I'm going to go 3 pi/8, 5 pi/8, and 7 pi/8, 11 pi/8. See, this is the first thing is only one space. After that, there's 2 space because I'm adding 2 pi/8. If each space pi/8, I'm going to add 2 pi/8 on each one. Ian, are you paying attention to the board?
Yeah.
I'm going to subtract that. That's going to give you to negative pi/8, negative 3 pi/8, negative 5 pi/8, negative 7 pi/8. Okay, so let me start. Is this sine graph or cosine graph? Sine, it start at a midline or peak or trout? It start at a midline. So where do I start? Right here, right? Does that make sense? So I'm start right here. Now after that, do I go down or I do go up? The next point, are they go down or go up, and why? It's actually down. And how many units? 2 units. So next one is going to be down 2 units for this point. This point, this point, this point. And this one is going to go up instead because it's going the other direction. So the graph is going to go here, 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 here. Does this make sense? Jada, ask me a question. Ask me a question, damn it. Ask me. Don't ask me after school because I'm not going to answer your questions. Don't ask me this afternoon. You're gonna ask me now. Those of you guys don't understand, ask me now. Don't ask me later. Don't watch a video. Try to understand this moment. Yes.
Which y starts like at like a close or pi over 8?
Because the pi over 8 is my shift, horizontal shift. So you're gonna do the shifting first. And start at midline because it's a sine graph. And it's going down because of the negative, the negative before the amplitude. Now, you're not done with the graph. Why you're not done? You gotta check your answer is right. So I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna see if my answer is right. So I'm gonna go with -2. Can somebody tell me what the function is? It was -2 what? Sine what? Now be careful how you type in this. You're gonna type in extra parenthesis here, extra one, outside of B. So what is the B here? 2. And I'm gonna type in another parenthesis like this. Make sure you do it right on decimals. And then it's gonna be what? X minus what?
X minus
Pi over 8.
Pi over 8. Okay, and then see the double parenthesis. You can change it to do that. And then what? -1. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna change the scale, see if it's right. So let's go back to put the steps to pi. Do you see that? And I'm gonna graph in the midline so that way you can see y equal to, always graph the midline. What is the midline? -1. So at first it should be at pi over 8 -1. The next point is gonna be 3 pi over 8 -3. And the 5 pi over 8 -1 and 7 pi over 8. Does that make sense? If once you graph it, you can see that idea of midpoints. And then if you check your answer, once you graph it, you gotta check your answer. Now I'm gonna go back double make sure is that's true. At pi over 8, I got -1. At 3 pi over 8, I got -3. And at 5 pi over 8, I got -1. And at 7 pi over 8, I got +1. So I check my graph. This graph is correct. If you don't check, you might not doing your homework. Because you're doing the homework to practice the right thing. If you're doing your homework, practice the wrong thing, it's like practicing rowing with the wrong technique. What happened if you practice wrong technique?
You learn wrong. You learn wrong.
You run wrong technique, but that's not a bad thing. You build a bad habit of doing something. Now later on, you're gonna have to change your habits. That takes twice of the effort. So now you use the right effort to do the right thing. So if you do your work and don't check your answer, you actually counterproductive. Does that make sense? If you're playing instruments, same thing. I don't know what Annika play. What do you play? Flute and saxophone. It's very important to fix your technique at very beginning stage of your learning, or do it later. Huh? That's hard to do. That's what I'm trying to say. So do it right the first time. So it applied to sports, it applied to music, it applied to math, it applied to everything you read. Do it right the first time. Okay, so guys, practice, do it right. I don't know how much time I have. Okay, we got one time. So we're gonna do your cosine graph. So y. Now remember, this b is not out. Check with each other. You graph one graph right, it's better than graph 10 graph wrong. Help out each other. This one's way harder. Get all the information, periods, amplitude, quarter period, midline, and lastly, horizontal shift. Shift, you have to tell me right or left. Now you're gonna base on a point using the same denominator increases. So make sure that they have the same denominator. Your scale of increase, it have same denominator as your horizontal translations. Um, if you guys are taking SAT this year, I suggest you take one this March because we have built up all the skills to take this SAT, including how to use Desmos, how to use slider. I would strongly suggest you register one right now for March. I can host a free sections of SAT for 2 hours to help you guys, but make sure you register now. And then I will let you know which day I'm gonna host a free sections for everybody. I'll post on the talking points, and I will show you how all the shortcut is gonna go. You still have to practice the blue book. I will try to get it done very early. I will not try to wait until I'm junior year to do it. I will try to get the shit done at sophomore year. The smart student I have in the past finish at 10th grade and don't have to do any more because you are gonna have a lot of stress. Try to prepare for AP exam. Try to prepare AP exam. Try to prepare all the things. I would do it right now. The way I prepare my son, I want him to be done at freshman year. I want him to get his Bright Future scholarship before anything because I don't want him to worry because I'm not paying for his scholarship. I'm on teacher salary. I'm not paying for his scholarship. I'm not paying for his tuitions. So I'm gonna ask him to get it done as freshman year. And my son is not even half as smart as you guys. But I'm gonna prepare him the right way. Right now, I already put him into grammar. I already put him to make sure that he knows how the subject and verb agreements. I hired a teacher to do that. But this year, all the stuff you learn right here is very beneficial. But there's also easy stuff, like for example, percentages. You gotta know how to do percentage. You gotta do your ratio. You gotta do all the things. So if I were you, I would register for SAT and knock it off this year. Well, at least if you didn't do good, it's fine. Also, there's a possibility you're not gonna do good. But if you didn't go good, you know how the digital works. Because Desmo is gonna be a biggest game change. You guys are using Desmo a lot more than any other class. And Desmo is gonna help you increase your SAT score by 150 points, believe it or not. So this is going to be a big key. So that free session is going to teach you how Desmo works, how everything works, and how is this related to what we're learning in the pre-calc. but you still have to practice.
And then you just go back.
Wait.
Did you guys factor out a B?
Two
Austin, check my math. Is that right?
Okay.
It's good. Okay.
So that-
So now my period is 2 pi over 3 over 4. So that's equal to 2 pi divided by 3 over 4. That's equal to 2 pi times 4 over 3. That's equal to 8 pi over 3. Is that okay? Quarter periods is equal to 8 pi over 3 divided by 4, which is 2 pi over 3. Midline is going to be y equal to negative 3. How about a shift? Left what? Left 2 pi over 3. Oh, luckily they are the same denominator, which is good. So left 2 pi over 3 is going to go here. So left is negative 2 pi over 3. And each increase is 2 pi over 3, so it's fine. So that's going to be 2 pi over 3, 4 pi over 3, 6 pi over 3, 8 pi over 3, negative 4 pi over 3, negative 6 pi over 3, negative 8 pi over 3. Midline is going to be where? Negative 3, so I'm going to draw a straight line. I don't bother draw a dotted line. I'm going to draw a... So its shift is left 2 pi over 3. Now this is a cosine graph. Cosine graph start at a midline or start at peak or trough? A trough. So it's 2 units below that. So it's right here, right here, right here, right here, right here, right here. Did you guys have this? What? Yeah, it's negative, so we saw it trough.
Oh.
Katie, do you understand this? On the left, I go left 2 pi over 3. But this is my starting point right here because this is a trap. I'm upset at not anything else. You don't do your homework. I give you 6 questions, you do 1 question. This not happen just one day. It happened every single day. The problem is you don't do it, and you're not gonna get better. And you're always gonna blame on test anxiety. But the truth is not test anxiety. There's no anxiety. You're very smart. You are just lack of practice, lack of understanding because you don't have practice. No practice, not gonna get better. And if you don't practice like you meant it, you're not gonna do well in the class. But you're gonna practice you meant it. That means I assign you 6 questions, you're gonna ask me for the 8th. But you don't. You only do even 1.